what do you think is the purpose of comedy, like, in society? Like, what role does comedy have for the country or civilization?
Oh, what a question. Well, obviously it's to entertain, but I think also it's what it's always been, without being too wanky about it, is to have, back in the time you had like a court jester who would say the unsayable, who would say the things that no one else could really get away with saying. And I think the best comedy is stuff that, because it's a release. I mean, like, I know some people get cross with me online because they say I shouldn't joke about the things I joke about, but I kind of think that it's a release for people. I find personally as a person that, when something really bad has happened to me, I've always sort of looked for the comedy in it, just as a way really of comforting myself. And it's a release for people. And also, if you're not sure, if issues do seem kind of big and scary and complicated, somehow it's just funny to laugh at them. That wasn't very eloquent. I'm sorry, but I think for example, like if I think of some comics I like who are actually quite right wing, and I'm a left wing person, but I like the good. If you're a good right wing comic, and admittedly there's quite a small pool of that, but if they're good, then sometimes I like watching that because I like laughing. I like laughing at myself, and I like looking at the world differently. And I think you can do that through a good joke.
Yeah. I think, like, I'm in the same boat. I mean, there's some right wing comedians that just crack me up. Like, who do you enjoy listening to?
So
from that area, because I'm always interested.
Yeah, so I think Leo Kearse is very funny. He's provocative on Twitter and online, but I've seen him on stage, and he's very funny. And I think Jeff Norcott, who is not as right wing as Leo, who's more sort of centrist right, is brilliant and funny, and also very informed actually. So he's sort of, his opinion's always kind of worth listening to. So I think those are the two that on the right that I'd pick out. And then you've also got people
that. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, well, I was just going to say I also think there's comics like who aren't politically on the right, but who are very good provocateurs, like Finn Taylor and Alfie Brown, who are great because they do make you, they do say things which are sort of quote unquote awful, but it makes you think about something different. I took my brother to see Finn Taylor, and he said afterwards, he went, "That was great. I didn't agree with half of what he was saying, but it made me laugh so much." And I think, I think that's what's great. It's exciting.
Really is. I love that like, I love when you're in that moment where the comedian is kind of saying the things that, like you said, no one else sort of will say, but when the audience is kind of brought along on the laugh train, it's like, I think Louis C.K. said it in one of his specials. He's like, "You're all here with me. You laughed at all of this stuff." It's it's like a shared moment where everyone can kind of forget about being too serious about things and sort of all laugh at the ridiculousness of our world together.
Yeah. Oh, Louis C.K.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's really difficult because I find that there's this thing where with some people, I want to separate the person from the bad things they did. Like, as the artist, I want to still like enjoy their art and kind of like be like, yes, this was a horrible human being, obviously fucked up in many ways. There's like people like Michael Jackson, like, I freaking love his music, but like at the same time,
you have to be aware that he was
very,
he's a big pedophile.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and same with Kevin Spacey. and like, because I love his acting in some things, like in House of Cards, for example. But then you have to and then there's the same thing with Louis C.K. and maybe he gets away with it more because he's a comedian and he can kind of, I don't know, like throw his hands up and just be like, well, and laugh about it in a way that like more serious artists can.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Louis C.K., the jury's still out, isn't it? Whether he will kind of rise above it. I think what some people found difficult was that it's not, his comedy was often referencing the kind of stuff it turned out he was doing. So, you know, there was a sort of complicity that as an audience member, you suddenly went, oh no, I thought I was laughing at something, you know, just quite far-fetched, and actually you were kind of indicating all the rather troubling things you were doing. But yeah, he was very funny. I don't know what's going to happen with him career-wise.
I mean, I think he's got a new show out. Maybe. I get the feeling I heard about that. Anyway, the comedian that I am loving most at the minute actually is Tim Dillon. And I'm not normally a big fan of American comedians. I feel like they're too, like, I don't know, abrasive. There's no subtlety to it. But Tim Dillon is so funny. I found out recently he's got like one of the biggest podcasts in the world. I'm
going to have to check him out.
I think he's like, yeah, he looks like Alex Jones's illegitimate son. And he is loud and is like a former, like he did an outrageous amount of drugs. He was like a subprime mortgage broker at one point. You know, all the like the really, really, really shitty mortgages that like broke the economy in 2008. Like he was like a salesman for that, but he always jokes about how he was a really bad salesman for them. So he was like the worst of the worst bankers. But he's just this like loud, abrasive guy that is so funny, but he's like so on the money with like, I don't know, what's going on the internet. Like, I think he just like scrolls the internet like 12 hours a day looking for material, but it's so good. He got in trouble recently for suggesting that Australians are still in lockdown because they want to grill and sit in the sun. That's all they want to do. And that they all are just loving it because, like, why would they not? You know, the government is telling them to sit at home and grill, and it's like, why would the Australians revolt? You know, they're just a bunch of oh, really funny guy. I definitely recommend you check him out.
Okay, I will. I will. He sounds good.
Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the podcast. Don't forget our sponsor, ExpressVPN, and my book, Brexit, The Establishment Civil War, can both be found in the links in the description below. And also, please like, share, and subscribe to this podcast. It's the best way to help us grow. Until next time, thanks for listening. Screw the hedge funds.
You can make as many rules as you want, but if there's no teeth behind them, what's the point?
Well, like Citadel is potentially just gone in a few months. It feels like financial institutions, that they are all laughing at us by buying GME. Screw the hedge funds. Like, I will lose my entire investment if it brings them down.
Why on earth, last May, could you buy the entire company for $200 million?
What's been happening on Reddit and in social media and in the marketplace has never been seen before.
I argue that nothing is off the table. There is nothing off the table when dealing with the volumes of money in something as big as the United States stock market.
The hedge funds have clearly underestimated a group of people raised on Friday night World of Warcraft raids.
Dark pools, they're another mechanism to manipulate and cheat. Mainstream journalists don't say these things for a number of reasons. One is their sources are the people that I'm talking about, and so they can't call somebody a crook.
Superstonk and the other communities that have emerged are a hive mind, the likes of which we have never seen before. It's madness and brilliance, insanity and genius all rolled into one. it's very possible that Citadel will be gone in a few months. And not just Citadel, but the entire financial system has the potential to come crashing down. These crooks continue to gamble recklessly with the world economy, and this could be the moment that they finally get their justice.